So I'm Alicia Cruiser, Miss Cruiser. I teach art at Logan High School. Right now it's like a department of one, so I teach everything from sculpture, painting, the intro classes, alternative art, kind of a little bit of everything.
My name is Chrissy Condon, and I am a special ed teacher at Logan High School. I teach students with intellectual disabilities. I'm also the department chair for the special ed department. So I teach mostly in a self-contained setting, but do push into some regular ed classes as well.
So in like a regular education setting, if students have IEPs, oftentimes we'll have it written within the IEP, specific things that need to happen to help the student succeed. A lot of times that looks like adding extra time or re-clarifying as needed. If there's like something in the project that doesn't make a lot of sense, I'll teach it in another way. When it comes to like a special education art class, the students' needs are kind of all over the place, like developmentally. So in the last class we just taught, just having a different type of scissors really helps for students who need help with that kind of motor skill.
So we don't typically give out the whole IEP to teachers that are not special ed teachers, but what we do each semester is we create a student profile sheet that includes pertinent information like what their accommodations are, and we list those out, successful strategies, and things that are challenging for the students. Mostly because IEPs are really long. They're like, could be like 30 or 50 pages sometimes. And this just gets some of the pertinent information to the teachers that need it. And I think it's pretty helpful. But I also think maybe even more importantly is as like case managers, we connect with those teachers to make sure that they kind of know what the students' needs are and how they can best support them in the regular ed setting.
I don't think funding is an issue. I struggle with it specifically because I don't have a ton of background in like adaptive art, like what tools are out there. So I'm always working with the special ed department and they're sharing what they know. But I do think that our art budget's pretty decent, and money towards alternative art supplies can definitely come from that. So we're just running low on glue and like everything at this point. So end of the school year. I would say just having so many different like student personalities and needs within one class can be really challenging. So some students will be able to do everything on their own and they'll finish in 2 minutes, whereas someone else is going to take a full hour to do the same project. So just finding a balance and keeping everyone engaged and challenged appropriately. Good point. So I know the special ed students all have iPads, and they have like voice to text and also images that they can click on to communicate with the teachers. So like if it was scissors, they could click their scissor icon and then that would communicate to me or someone else if they needed to work with scissors. So that's been really helpful, is having those iPads, and just like fun apps on the iPad is fun for our lessons as well.
So with the students that I work with, typically I'm working with students with more significant disabilities, but I have worked with students with a variety of disabilities. There's kind of a spectrum of what we offer for students. So some of our students are in an alternative art class, which is made for students with the most significant needs, and it's kind of separate from a regular class. It has different standards and different projects. But we also have students that go into the regular art classroom. And for that, there's been some years where I actually team teach along with the art teacher for students that maybe need a little extra support, or maybe they need projects modified or instructions presented differently. And really, I think if it's at all possible, I think that's the best way to do it. I think if they can be in a regular art class, that's really nice, and it gives them a chance to be with their peers that might not be in their other academic classes, and get to be with other teachers, because it's gotta be kind of boring to have the same teacher all day. So I think that's good for them.
So I think it's really beneficial to have TA support, because I'm only one person, and we've been really lucky to have pretty much for every student there's a TA as well that can help hand over hand and help them succeed. And then as far as like inclusive, I think it's really cool to give them ownership in the lesson. So providing a lot of choice and kind of letting them explore what materials they want to work with when it's appropriate.
As far as like creating the inclusive environment. It might be modifying projects, maybe having them be less detailed. Sometimes it's a totally different project, but it's working on similar objectives. Like if it's like something like with color theory or color, it might be a totally different project, but it's still incorporating those things. And then it's kind of just collaborating with the art teacher on like what are they looking for, and then me coming in as more of like the expert on the student, saying like this is what they're able to do or not able to do. How do we meet in the middle to accomplish both goals?
Recently, we talked about the element of art texture, and my kids really enjoyed a couple of the lessons, but one of them was making texture burgers. So on like a 2D piece of paper, we have all sorts of different textures for like the lettuce, onions, all that good stuff. And just hearing them talking about textures and how they feel as the lesson went on, and then afterwards as well, was pretty cool to see.
The advice I would give a new art teacher who is eager to support students with special needs, first of all, that's really exciting. I think it's so important for regular ed teachers to know and understand students with special needs, because any subject you teach, you're going to have students in your class that have either learning differences or intellectual disabilities or physical disabilities. So I think that's exciting that someone would be eager to support students. I think the biggest things are just having a relationship and a connection with the special ed teacher, so that you have a person that you can communicate with if you're having problems or if you need ideas, and just being open to that student and not coming in with any preconceived judgments based on what their disability is or what you've heard from people, because sometimes a student may act one way in one setting, but they're like totally different in another setting. Maybe that's like, maybe art is their thing and they just are blossoming in there, and just being willing to support that.
My biggest piece of advice is do exactly as you guys are. Get in as many classrooms as you can, work with as many different students from really tiny to older as you possibly can, because it's all about hands-on experience as far as learning goes, in my opinion.